And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. So tonight, I actually have a very special guest. I'm going to be doing a one-on-one interview with actor filmmaker Jay Ashton. As a matter of fact, I just had a privilege of actually reviewing one of the films that he was in A Life to Choose. But still, this is I'm going to just say it like this. This is a phenomenal movie. It's a great Christian-based movie. I really had a great time reviewing it. So, without further ado, let's get on with the show. I'm excited to have Jay here doing this interview. Let's do it. And hey, Jay, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah,
What's up, man? And
nothing much.
everybody
It's good
out
to have
there.
you. Yep. But nah, man, it's good to have you. We've been talking about this for over a week now. It's just a privilege to have you on my show.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we can, talk about some good stuff here, and get you some views and benefit your channel, and also get some eyes on what I got going on as well. So
Exactly, man. Exactly. So my first question is this, coming out off the gate and everything. So where I want to know something. So where did you come from and stuff like that? What got you into doing movies? Also, too, I know you're a Christian too, as just as I am. And I want to know, where did you find your faith at in God, and also what made you say this is what I want to do, especially about how Hollywood actually is in a sense, and how did you learn how to separate that stuff too? I know I have a lot of questions, but coming out of the gate, but I'm
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. No,
curious.
no, absolutely, man. Well, I guess let me just go ahead and tell you a little bit about where I come from. Um, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, back in the 80s. I'm going to give up my age here. Don't care. I think I look pretty decent for 43, but anyway, yeah. So in Los Angeles in the 80s, I mean, as some people know that are of age that know that time period back then, it was very, 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 very hectic out there in Los Angeles. Big gang activity. I mean, huge, and um, you know, and then of course, just everything else that came along with it out there. With just growing up, I've never met my real father before. So I went without that figure in my life. My grandfather, God rest his soul, and my uncles filled that void for me. The Lord was always looking out for me, I believe. But I was definitely out there to pretty much kind of raise myself and just to figure things out on my own. My mother was a single mother. She did the best she could. She was kind of doing her own thing, um, ripping and running, out there in LA. And but she was involved in a lot of martial arts, as well as my grandfather was one of Bruce Lee's best friends. Um, Herb Jackson was my grandfather, and he played a significant role in raising me. Um, so he was, yeah. So I grew up in that whole martial art world as well, along with kind of balancing out, trying to stay away from the streets, and the ridiculous gang activity that was going on out there, that was kind of tugging on me at an early age, as it does as a young man out there. That's kind of, it coming from a broken home, and yearning for some acceptance and love in the wrong places. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so I grew up out there, um, and basically, yeah. And then there was a man that came into my mother's life that um, that kind of filled that void for me, I guess you'd say, as a father figure. Um, he was his name was Dominic Montiglio, um, and he was an associate in the Gambino family, and so has a whole long history behind him. Has a book written about him called Murder Machine. Um, I mean, just numerous, endless, documentaries and
Right.
stories and shows that were done on him and stuff like that about his life and whatnot. So me being from Los Angeles and kind of just being without, he kind of, like I said, took me under his wing and stuff like that. And so we moved out to Florida, and from there it was on. My training had begun. I mean, he basically saw me out there in Florida, just kind of getting myself involved in the streets and just kind of rip, just thugging it, just in the worst way. I'm ashamed of it now, but so he basically, but instead of, and I don't, I love Dominic to death. God rest his soul.
Mhm.
He just recently passed away and stuff. So our whole relationship and everything that you can, I guess you can, if you want to dig deeper and hear more about that, our relationship and what transpired with that whole scene, what you can go to Discovery ID on a podcast for Discovery Channel and go to Mafia Tapes, and season 4. I basically come in and tell my story, about being underneath Dominic Montiglio. But so anyway, so out in Florida, he kind of saw me, kind of out there and stuff, and he said basically, if you want to be a gangster, this is how to do it, instead of kind of veering me away from it, which
He geared you more towards it.
yeah, and because I guess he it's, and I'm not here to bash him. So that was my best friend. I envied him. I really, because of course I was lost out there. And I had just had that gangster mentality as far as being from the street and just wanting to just prove myself and what kind of legitimate tough guy I was, which I did. I did prove that in many ways. That I'm definitely not proud of, but he basically kind of took me under his wing and said, okay, well, I see you out here ripping and running with these half, I'm not going to say what he said, but
Right. I can imagine.
yeah. And so he said, yeah, so, this is how to do it. So come here, let me show you. So we did, and like I said, instead of obviously veering me away and saying, no, that this is not the path you want to go down. You want to go this way because this life leads to nothing but, destruction. So, but again, so I, under his, something he was supposed to do, I went in place of him and said, no, let me do it. I want to prove to you how legitimate I am here about being a gang, about being,
Being part of the crew and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I did. I went in place of him, something he was supposed to go and do that I'm not going to, mention, go into the details of that. But I went, and he said, okay, well then you go ahead. So I did. I ended up getting busted for it because of the guys that I was, with and stuff. They, cops got a hold of them. They gave them the whole story about, we already know everything, et cetera, et cetera. And so they went ahead and ratted us out, and stuff like that. So I went to jail for it. I got sentenced to 3 years. I only did 1.5 years, for good behavior and stuff like that. I got out. I got out and basically was heading right back into the streets. You would have thought learn your lesson, but just, still trying to prove myself in any kind of way. I mean, even at the judge, when I'm standing in front of the judge, I'm still trying to, prove to my father, that I'm the real deal. I'm
Right. I'm not no rat and stuff like that.
Not, I went down, the judge is telling me right here to my face, my mother, everybody's there, and says, I'm telling you right now, I will lessen your charge and take this off, if you just tell us where this and this went. And I was already set on going away anyway. So it didn't matter to me, and I'm 18, so I'm just like, basically bang a gavel. Let's get this over with. Come on. And I did, so that was that. And then he dared me to go into the military after that, still trying to prove myself to him. Cause he did 3 years in Vietnam, and he was a, Green Beret and in the army and stuff like that. And so he dared me to go in, and I was drunk at the time when we had this conversation. So the next morning there's a recruiter standing at the door, and I opened up the door, and there's a recruiter standing there, and I'm like, what did I say last night? I'm like, okay, well, come in. And I said, if I need to bust a move, I need to do it now, because I'm heading right back into the street. So let me just go ahead and do this and get out of here. So I did, and it saved my life. So that's when I got with the USCBs. So
okay.
I can go on and on, but I mean, I'm going to
No,
let you jump in.
it's okay. But no, I think it's just, here's the thing with that story though, because you go from doing that,
Yeah.
and then you're like, okay, so my way out is the military, even though I'm here to impress my dad
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And you're still looking for that approval, but at the same time, being in the army actually saved your life, pull you away from those streets to
Yeah.
the point where it's like, okay, that don't even matter no more. Now I can just go on ahead and serve my country.
Yeah.
And then maybe when I get back, I don't have to go ahead and be on those streets anymore. Maybe
Yeah.
that might actually be something. And then I can also get my dad's approval without having to run the streets as well. So that might be another thing that I was thinking of too. That might be something that you were thinking of.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, and I'm ashamed, like, again, I'm just
Mhm.
embarrassed to even say, I mean, it was fun at the time and stuff like that, but everybody knows the multitude of brothers and sisters that I served with, who I love to death. Shout out to all the CBs out there. And yeah, so, but no, but while I was in though, I was taking that street mentality to the military, which was a no, and I was a recluse, loose cannon of an individual that just brought with me a sense of like, who is this guy? Like, why is he even like, get him out? Like, he does not belong in the military. But well, a lot of us at that age were at that point in time, we're very young, no
Mhm.
children, straight off the streets from all over the country. That's what I loved about it, that we all just came together and we're down for the same cause. And it was talk about a gang. I mean, it was a legitimate, organization, that we all
Right.
just kind of bonded over and stuff like that, that we were looking for, I guess, when we were younger, we found there, but we were still kind of had some streets on us that we brought into the military and stuff, and they didn't know how to take me. I was getting in so much trouble, but because I had a lot of people looking out for me, that my higher ups and stuff like that, and knew that the job that I did do when I did do my job, after they have to come and find me, and I was late. um, they knew I was a good guy. They knew I was a good kid. I just needed some guidance and stuff
Some
like that,
direction.
as we all do. But yeah, I barely got out honorably through the skin of my teeth because I was completely just out of control. But at the same time, I had children, while I was in, and instead of completely, slamming on the brakes with what I was doing, I continued to dibble and dabble even when I was in the military. I was deep in the streets here in Mississippi where I was at, in Gulfport and Biloxi and stuff like that, just out here wrong. And, just, and it continued on for a little bit, even with my children after
Mhm.
my children was born, especially my firstborn Carlo. I was still kind of ripping and running, but then then God started to really work on me at that point, and I knew that if I continue down this path, they would have to go through what I went through without a father, at some point. And it was just not an option for me at that point to have them go through that or even risk that, so that was that, man. And yeah, I got into a relationship, a very toxic relationship that I ended up giving my life to the Lord, which I had already done when I was younger and stuff like that, but never really took it serious. You know what I'm saying?
Because at
Grew
that
up.
time, when we take things like that as a young age, we don't understand none of that.
Yeah.
All we're like, yeah, we'll go on ahead, we'll do it, we'll get baptized or whatever. But at the same time, we don't underneath everything, underneath the surface, we don't understand the context behind it either.
Right, exactly. And I grew up Catholic. I
Me too.
did the catechism. Yeah, I was a altar boy. First Holy Communion. I mean, just the whole, But just it didn't really. I was just going through the motions as a child. As a young man. With my grandmother and whatnot and stuff like that. Just kind of following suit with what they were kind of handing me off. Like, this is what we believe. And at some point, later on, some years ago, I started I went to a non-denominational church, and here in Gulfport, and I was very weary about anything outside the Catholic Church. So I listened and just was picking everything he was saying apart, just just like, okay, I'm just waiting for you to slip and say something, and I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't. I mean, he was nailing it, and I just was. I mean, the Lord was coming through and speaking to me at that point, and I knew that that's where I belonged, because I just was able to take what he was saying and kind of apply it to everyday, real life situations, and biblically, and how Jesus walked and how he handled it. And, it was just, I mean, he was, I mean, very powerful. So that's at that point I went ahead and got baptized, and really, needed to change it up, like now, it needs to happen now. And in the relationship that I was in, I don't think she was really ready for that commitment that I was ready to take, with my walk with God at that point. And it was basically like a complete 360, for me anyway. I had to be extreme with it. I stopped listening to what I was listening to, which is huge. Okay. Let me tell you how. I mean, the enemy has his ways of coming through with entertainment, with people, with, and I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, he's very tactical about his approach to getting to you, and using these things and using these people against you. You know what I'm saying? To veer you completely off into left field.
Because most people think of the Satan and everything else as like a guy in a red cape, but it's not. Yeah. It's not that. People have that view of it. Yeah. But that's not who he is. He can influence you in different ways, and nobody sees it. They have that veil covered up.
From my understanding, he was one of the most handsome, angels up there, and I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, not to get off track here, but I mean, I think he was the angel of music or something like that. I think he was
like a ministry, right?
Something like that. Yeah. So anyway, but so when I went down, got baptized, came up, I left everything in that water. You know what I'm saying? I had to. I needed a change, and it needed to happen now, because the life I was living in, and still the Lord's working on me, you know what I'm saying, in a lot of different areas, I needed it to happen right then and there, for my kids. And I just didn't want to pass on, the stuff that was already getting passed on to me, and these chains that were just so, locked up with the, the mess that where I come from. I didn't want them to have to go through that, and it would have, and just like a lot of families, unfortunately, they do, that they do hand that down and pass the baton on to the next generation, because they're not equipped, with being able to deal with or be the person that wasn't there for them. You know what I'm saying? I was willing to go that extra mile, which you got to do, and in any facet of life, exactly. To be any kind of successful individual, whether it be for a parent, whether it be in a whatever, I mean, you gotta be very proactive with it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you just let it have on autopilot, I mean, what's the saying? There's a good saying that says, I'm trying to remember. It says, something to the effect, if you don't work hard for something that you want, what automatically will take over, and what will happen is the opposite of what it's something like that. But you get what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, so yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute here. The thing that I really find fascinating too is the fact that you started a production company.
Yeah,
based on Christianity, based on the fact that where parents can feel safe about letting their kids watch whatever they want to watch based off of your production company, which is huge, and stuff like that. And I commend you for that, because it's hard to find things for kids to watch. Even my own 10-year-old son, for example, he was watching YouTube the other day. I had to change it because this one guy was having this channel where he was cussing, and it was Elmo. He couldn't even watch Elmo because some guy was cussing on TV. So we had to change the channel on it. At least with your production company, we can say that we're safe in y'all's hands, because you guys know how to present something. So where did the idea of this come from? And when did you realize, hey, I want to start a production company?
It infuriates me to what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? I mean, as I said, and I'm talking about this firsthand, you know, that I know with this music, with this entertainment, with it's so influential in society and in our culture. You know, I mean, they become like idols, and they become like gods to the world. You know, that they just eat up. People just eat up whatever they're getting fed, and the enemy sees that, and he, like I said, he's very, very conniving and manipulative, where he'll seep right in and just be, you know, using these people as pawns to just poison, especially the kids. That gets coming so rampant at the kids right now, man. It really just upsets me. But anyway, so that's basically, you know, and me having children, you know, and stuff like that. You know, I mean, you hear me in the car, my children, you know, the stuff that I watch. I mean, I used to be everything that I was listening to when I was growing up, when I was in my teens, when I was in my young adulthood, everything that I was listening to, not only could I relate to, but it was almost like witchcraft. Honestly, I mean, it will intoxicate your mind state to where you're getting planted these you know, ideas and these pictures, and you know, of just what they're talking about, which is just nothing but just, you know, filth. You know, I mean, back then it was fun for me to be able to vibe with this music and bop to it, you know, and because I'm agreeing with what they're saying, and I'm living what they're talking about, you know what I'm saying? So it was that much more impactful that it would resonate with me, and you know, in a sick way, it's almost like, you know, it almost pushes you to want to do these things that they're talking about, so you can relate to it that much more. And it's just, I mean, it's just lies from the devil, man. It's sick. So, yeah. So I figured, you know, instead of, you know, trying to minister to people and let them know, you know, don't listen to this, you know, don't listen to this. You don't need to be watching this. You know, it's just, it's pollution to your soul, and it's gonna, you know, so in turn, I figured, okay, well, instead of just pointing to stuff and saying, let's not do this, let's not listen to this, well, let me go ahead and create something that's just as entertaining, you know, and comes from a place, you know, of love, and comes from a place of genuine care for your well-being, and you know, your livelihood and your children, and you know, I mean, we need to just stick together in the body of Christ, and just you know, push up against with Hollywood and what the enemy's got his hands on all over, just trying to push on these kids and trying to push on society. And I mean, you see, I mean, you can just turn on the TV, you know what I'm saying, turn on the radio. I mean, it's just it's like, even if you're not a Christian, even if you're not a Christ follower or a believer in the Lord, you can feel what there's something's going on here, and it's spiritual warfare. It's you know, it's you know, and that's one of my favorite.
Every day is a spiritual battle that we go through. And also too, back in my younger days, though, too, in my youth class, he said the church is basically the prep rally. Out there is the football game. You have to play it every single day. And you have to apply it every single day.
Oh yeah.
And you have to put on that armor every single day.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not living, you're dying. And if you're not growing, you're dying.
Can you see that there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It. But yeah, no, you definitely got to be, and that's what this film is about, you know. So to get back to the Hollywood films,
yeah.
So I figured I'd go ahead and create some content, create some entertainment for families, you know, the youth, just the world in general, you know, to be able to watch, get some substance other than just, I mean, you go on Netflix, you go on anything you turn to on social media, it's just, you know, sex and just, I mean, you know, I mean, you name it. It's just, you know, and so away from what's actually going to benefit you in life, you know, and help you out, you know, with being the successful individual, man. And so I just figured, let me go ahead and create some content to be able to feed to the people. Although it might be a little edgy, okay, I'm not gonna lie. my approach to filmmaking and telling these stories is going to be very edgy. It's going to definitely have that faith based content and speaking, the truth about the gospel and about, the Lord, and pointing people in that direction. However, it's going to be gritty. It's going to be, because this is where I come from. This is I'm here. I feel like I'm here to, well, like Jesus said, leave the 99 and go after that one. I mean, the church is there's a saying. It says, we're not here to build a museum for the Christians. We're here to build a hospital for the sick. That's what Hollywood Films is about, in a nutshell. So that's the kind of content that I'm bringing to the table and trying to put out there is some. It's going to be some edgy stuff. Some Christians, some people out there might look at it like, this is not, well.
But I think that it can actually be used. But here's the thing: if someone's not a non-believer and they see that, they're like, "Wait, this is not what I was expecting."
Yeah,
and then they watch.
Right.
You actually gravitated toward. You spoke something in them to where they want to keep on viewing it.
Exactly.
So if you get that person hooked that quickly and catch them off guard with it because of how edgy it is, you're doing something. You're planting little seeds,
absolutely,
and letting them grow in Christ, just as you're growing in Christ, and you're also growing that ministry as well.
For sure. And if that means that I have to get my hands dirty and roll up my sleeves and speak the language and where play the part and look how some of these people look, which is where, like I said, I come from, to be able to have them perk up their ears to actually listen to what I'm saying, more so than somebody in a suit. Not speaking nothing against people that like to wear suits, because I like to wear suits, but like even when I was growing up, like a therapist or something like that I got pointed to, or some sort of whoever they wanted me to talk to, what are you going to tell me? What can you tell me about what's going on with me? You ain't been there. You ain't done that. So what are you going to, what you just read out of a book, you're going to try to sit here. So with that kind of mind frame, a lot of people have when it comes to ministry as well. You know what I'm saying? So if you have somebody that's kind of like, say I go to a prison, if you have somebody say that's a little bit more clean cut and kind of like, postured up and kind of just speaking like at them, you know what I'm saying? They're going to be a little bit more kind of, I don't know, they're going to be a little bit more questionable about, your intent, just a lot of stuff, what I'm saying? But if you come and you talk how they talk and you look how they look and they can see that you come from that, they're more than likely to perk up their ears just a little bit more and kind of lean into what you got to say. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
Yeah.
But another thing though, that I really have to, the film that I just reviewed is just fantastic. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Yeah. Shout out to Vincent and Christy Perry, the filmmakers of A Life to Choose. Yeah.
And I gotta say, man, like I said before, even though you were in it for like 8 scenes, even though I said 3 scenes, I was just speculating over the scenes because I'm a movie reviewer. So I don't know exactly how many scenes that you actually shot, but your presence is actually there. Even though that you might be in the shadows and you're controlling the streets on that street level, your presence is there with those dealers. And because of the fact that you're controlling the streets, I feel like your character is even bigger than what people realize it actually is because of that. But man, I felt a threat when Joshua and his brother and everything. I was like, oh, I do not want to cross him. I really don't. But man, I liked it.
I give credit to my father for that role. I dedicated that role to him, just for the simple fact that I approached it and kind of acted like how he would have acted like in that predicament and with those scenes, just how he would talk and how he would, kind of just bring that character to life. That was for him. So and I bring somewhat of an authentic kind of to characters like that, which is why I don't mind being cast typed or whatever. I mean, every show and every movie needs a villain or a antagonist of some sort or what is it?
Protagonist.
Anyway, and that's what I usually get. You know, the biker, the thug, the mob guy, the gangbang, whatever. You know, I mean, but I've been I think I was telling you.
Yeah.
I've been a little bit more kind of mindful about stuff that I'm taking on, you know, nowadays, because I do want to be a part of stuff that has some substance to it, and some you know, healthy content that's actually sending a good message out, instead of just, you know, kind of glamorizing this deceitful, just,
Right.
you know,
This
mess.
mafioso kind of character.
Yeah.
I can understand that. You want to be a little bit more reserved in what you're doing, so that way you can actually represent not only represent yourself in that kind of light, but also represent how God receives you in that light.
Right.
And so that way your light can be shining through other people, though, too.
Yeah. And I don't mind playing, you know, a villain, you know,
Right.
as long as, you know, we're going to be getting to the end of this, and this villain is going to be getting taken out by the light, you know, and you know, the good guy comes out on top, you know, and stuff like that. I know it's kind of corny to some people or whatever, but you know, that's just where I'm at right now. So I got you. Yeah.
So my other thing is this too. So where did you discover movies and wanting to act? That's the other thing I was wondering about.
Yeah. So I grew up in Los Angeles, like I said, so I grew up all around that stuff. You know, I mean, it was all around me. I mean, if I probably would have stayed there, and I said I wrote a poem one time, I would have either been behind bars or a movie star or something like that. But anyway, yeah. So I was around, you know, I mean, top dogs in the industry, especially in the martial art world. You know, stunt guys, you know, that were just, I mean, like, again, my Bruce Lee's people, you know, and all these things that I could have been very well, you know, been the next whatever, you know, but for some reason, God kept my family at an arm's distant length with that industry. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, probably for good reason, because he knew what would have happened if we would have, you know, been out there, which we were already out there. I know my mother and my uncle, and then we're, you know, but so he, I think, kept us, you know, so now I think that we're better equipped, I think, you know, especially myself, to be able to handle what this industry and what this world and what this business is going to throw at you. I think, you know, he's telling me on a daily, are you ready, you know, for this? And I am. I hope and pray, but but being from Los Angeles, I was around it all my life. You know, coming out to Mississippi, though, I didn't think it was even, you know, a consideration to be able, you know, to pursue something like that. My childhood dreams, I always wanted to be in movies and stuff like that, which my mom was supposed to be getting me some black and whites, we used to call them back in the day, some headshots and stuff like that. Anyway, but so I came out here, and I thought it was just too far-fetched to consider pursuing something in the film industry.
Something so big.
Come to find out, there's a lot going on out here. So I started dibbling and dabbling into it. You know, Hollywood South, you know, Louisiana, all kinds of stuff going on. I'm like, really? I'm like, huh? Because I'm thinking, I grew up in LA. I'm thinking everything's out in LA. You know, that's where, you know, there's
I'll be perfectly honest with you too, because I was even thinking the same thing at a young age though too, because I wanted to be in movies. I wanted to do stuff like that, but I'm like, but I have to move to Los Angeles. Next thing you know, there's stuff going on in Mississippi. I'm like, right in my front backyard.
Right.
I had no idea. So yeah it's kind of like a fish out of water kind of thing.
Yeah, it used to be. I guess that was like the dream was to travel out west and go pursue the, you know, because that's where it was, the studios and everything else. But now, you know, there's more spread out opportunity, you know, especially in the South here. So I'm just like, so I started kind of, like I said, doing a little background stuff and you know, et cetera, and then just one thing led to another, you know, and I was a part of, I was a featured role in The Greyhound, which was with Tom Hanks, and out in Baton Rouge on the USS Kidd. We filmed out there on an actual battleship for 3 weeks straight. Tom Hanks was the captain. I don't know if you ever saw the movie, The Greyhound.
I saw Captain Phillips, but I never saw The Greyhound, though. I need to see that.
Yeah, it was based on a true story, World War II movie and stuff like that. Very emotional because we're actually portraying these seamen that were actually out there and went through this and stuff. I mean, there was scenes where, you know, bodies were draped in you know, the American flag. They're sliding it over side of the ship, and I'm standing there with the rifle, damn near in tears, because I'm like, oh my God, this is like this is for real. Like they really went through, like, oh my God. Anyway, so that's where I met the medic that was on there in charge for the cast and crew, and he was also a Baton Rouge firefighter who introduced me to Vincent for the role of Big C for A Life to Choose. So I ended up landing that. And at that point, you know, it was just on from there, you know, and yeah, so I you know, got casted for like, you know, I was on the whole 5th season of Queen of the South. I don't know if you're familiar with that show.
I heard of it. I have heard of it.
Yeah. And then I mean, I just been in all of those shows out there in New Orleans. I can go on and on. And just recently, you know, was in a movie, you know, going toe to toe with Mr. Jamal Woolard, which is who plays Biggie Smalls in the movie Notorious. I don't know if you ever seen that.
I've seen that one because I'm big into hip hop at the time.
Yeah. So he played Biggie Smalls, and that is Biggie to the streets. That's Biggie right there, you know, and recreated and you know, came. So I played in a movie with him and went toe to toe, and they're supposed to be coming out with that here pretty soon. Under I forget the production, but anyway, it's going to be coming out soon. And oh yeah, I'm all in his face in this movie. I'm the Biggie in this movie. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. Problematic Intentions with Mr. Vernon Wiggins, Velo the Maestro. That was movie that is. Dewey Allen, which is the movie I was just referring to. He's Dewey and his son. Oh my God, I'm forgetting names here. I'm gonna offend everybody. There's a lot of stuff coming out anyway right now, back to back. that I'm gonna be in, and et cetera, et cetera. But again, stuff that I'm kind of nowadays a little bit. What happened to you? Are you there? Did you fall off? You fell out of the screen. What's going on?
Hey, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I thought I was gonna have to finish the show by myself.
Man, computer glitch. I'm sorry. I apologize. And everything. My computer decided it wanted to update for a minute. I don't know what the deal is. But
okay.
Anyways, we were saying about.
So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out here back to back that you'll be able to see and stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that. But right now I'm working diligently, you know, and faithfully on this film of mine, you know, Sword of the Spirit. So which we can get into whenever you.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because Sword of the Spirit, I know that it was actually something that you've seen back in your younger days, and then you had inspiration to want to try and do that. So give everybody a little bit of background on that, because I found that very moving and very spiritual as well when you showed it to me, and I was very moved by it.
So you saw the original performance?
Not the performance, but the behind the scenes stuff that you showed me and stuff like that.
Yeah. So this was a performance, an onstage performance that I was a part of, that me and my family did back in 1991. My uncle Mark Ashton, he played the main character. He kind of orchestrated and put together this whole production. It was a 2-hour night of Christian entertainment, which I would love to somehow do again and take on the road. That'd be awesome. But we were one of the acts of many, and it was called Sword of the Spirit. And it was basically about spiritual warfare. And it was about this individual that came on stage that my uncle played. There was no dialogue, but you can clearly see what's going on here. And that's what this is based off of. And you see this, it's an individual, just like I play in the film, who is going through it, you know, going through the everydays of life, you know, just feeling beat up, and the walls are closing in. And, you know, any man or woman can relate to this. That's why it's such a powerful message. You know, I don't care what race, creed, religion, or whatever you come from, you can relate to the everyday struggle and fight that you fight every day against whatever you think is going on. You know, it's a battle for sure. And so you see this individual going through these things, and he's completely blind to all these attacks, as we are without Christ, until you submit yourself and surrender. And then he takes the blinders off and grants you the sword of the Spirit, now to be equipped and to be able to recognize these things coming for what they are. So you're able to stand victorious over them and defeat them and stand, and over the principality of darkness. So that's what this film is based off of, is that message. But now I wrote it to pertain to people and places and events that have happened in real life with me. You know what I'm saying? So.
Gotcha. I definitely like that. I really have to say I like the idea and the concept of it. I can't wait to see it in its full capacity. And
Yeah.
what I want to do is I'm probably gonna try and check out the play itself,
Yeah.
get an idea as well,
Yeah.
because I think that that's something that needs to be taught. It has a great message behind it. I feel like that's something that is missing in today's youth as well. Because even when the church today, they're all about the entertainment, they're all about growing the church, but they forgot about one thing: the church is inside you. It's not about a building.
No.
And they're so concerned about numbers to the point where, okay, well, how can we draw these young kids? Oh, let's put entertainment in, and let God be just an attachment.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. It's just becomes secondary versus being first.
That's important. That is very important, no doubt. And I've seen, although I believe I'm a big advocate on as a believer, having fellowship within the church, within the body.
Absolutely.
Being able to go to church. You don't necessarily have to go to church to, be at church. I mean, there could be a small gathering here at my house, and this can be church. However, fellowship is definitely important, and it's in the Bible. Iron sharpens iron, and you definitely need each other to be able to get through this stuff. However, yes, there are nowadays a lot of stuff going on I think people, churches, whatever you want to, the enemy, honestly, is using to kind of just put at the forefront. Draping it with a God's appearance, but it's not really, about that. It's more about the entertainment, like you said, and stuff like that. So that's why with this, I definitely have to pray, and we all do, in anything and everything we do, to make sure that He's given His glory to all of this. I mean, because I can sit here and boast all day long about my film, about me being, the star of it. And, that is like the last thing I want people to see and give me credit for, is being this, creating this film, which is cool. I mean, I appreciate it, and I hope people, but it's ultimately, all of this is to direct them to Him.
Right. Exactly.
That's it. So, yeah.
Because the flesh wants us. Here's the thing, though, too. The flesh wants us to say, "Oh, look, you did such a good job," patting our own selves on the back,
right,
feel that ego and everything too. Yeah. And we have to separate that of like, look, I don't get the glory. He gets the glory. I'm just the one who's being used as a vessel to tell my story.
Absolutely. My story for His glory. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to get to this couple of questions here. It's going to be kind of funny, though, here. But so I know that we've been talking a little serious, but okay. So my question is this: if you were a cereal, what cereal would you be?
Why would you want to know something like that?
Hey, people want to know.
Yeah, people want to know what kind of cereal I'd be. Yeah. We just got done talking about spiritual warfare. We're talking about some Captain Crunch now. All right. So this is asked to all the guests.
Yeah, I do it to some of them just to throw them off a little bit. Just
Yeah. So no, I if I was a cereal, definitely not a serial killer, but if I was a cereal, let's see. I love peanut butter Captain Crunch. So what's happening, Captain? Yeah. Let's just go with that. I could go on and on, man. But yeah, if I was a cereal, and I don't know how to correlate the two, like why I would be a captain, I don't know.
I got you.
Yeah, you definitely caught me off guard with that one.
Okay, so one more. So what would your spirit animal be?
My spirit animal. I would like to think it would be a lion. Um, but I just correlate, I just kind of, connect that with the Lord, being that lion, and stuff like that. But I mean, my favorite animal is a black panther.
Nice.
It's just slick and sleek and just smooth and just I mean, it's vicious and it's kind of how I like to think of myself, I guess, in a good way nowadays.
Yes.
So yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I had for you for this interview and stuff like that. Man, I do appreciate you taking the time out of your night to talk about your production company, talk about our spiritual beliefs and stuff like
Yeah,
that, where you came from.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was an honor to be able to talk to you. Now, do you have anybody? Now, my next question is this: if anybody wanted to follow you and all that stuff,
Okay.
do you have any social medias that they can follow you at?
Okay. Well, I want to first and foremost give a shout out to my children. If they watch this, Nigel, my son up in Minnesota, I love you. Um, Carlo, my firstborn, who's here somewhere, I think, but shout out to him and my daughter, who I have full custody of, Miss Unique. She's 13, so everybody pray for me because boy, this little girl. Anyway, so but no, so yeah. So the next thing with this film, Sword of the Spirit, is going to be I'm launching a crowdfunding campaign that's going to be on Seed and Spark. I don't know if some of you guys are familiar with Seed and Spark, but Kickstarter and some people know Indiegogo and stuff like that. But Seed and Spark is specifically for like production and stuff like that, and it also has the highest success rate in people reaching their goals and stuff like that. So I went with Seed and Spark. We were going to be pulling the trigger. I need to shave off. I don't know if you're going to be showing the pitch video after this.
I don't have the pitch video because of the fact that I ran into some trouble with that part, but
Okay.
I will definitely put something together to help.
It's okay. It's okay. So I will be just follow me, follow the movie on Facebook, Sword of the Spirit, the movie on Facebook, Sword of the Spirit, the movie on Facebook, and then of course, or me, Jay Ashton. Follow us on Facebook. I'm trying to get savvy and trying to get proactive a little bit better with all the other platforms and stuff like that. I'm going to have to hire somebody. If you know anybody, John, please, because that's a full-time job within itself, man. I mean,
It definitely is.
oh my goodness.
Like,
Anyway,
even with the stuff I have to do, it's like so time consuming.
it is.
And stuff
And
like
I
that.
got all this other stuff going on. It's like, I'm like, and I dropped the ball a lot, being engaging with Instagram and Twitter, all that stuff. It's just, but it's very important. It's very important with what we're trying to do and promote, our ourselves, which I hate saying that. But in our brand, our company, our message, our movement, our movie, whatever, it's very important. It's one of the top two things, that you got to be, very, very, specific and mindful with, is being at the forefront of marketing and promoting and advertising, on all these social media. It's like, anyway, so as of right now, we'll be working on the website and stuff like that. But for sure, Facebook, follow us on Facebook so you're able to see the updates on everything that's going on with the film, especially once we pull the trigger and go live with this crowdfunding campaign. So if anybody wants to contribute to the funds that are left to finish us off with this film, we're 90% done with it. And we're, like I said, I'm going to be, raising the remaining funds that are left to finish us off and bring us all the way into distribution. I have a distribution deal already on the back end with the Cristiano brothers, which some of you in the Christian, filmmaking world are very familiar with. They're huge. So yeah, we're going to be, shooting the last day of filming. Then it goes on to obviously the music and the editing and long weeks and weeks on end of just piecing this thing together and telling the story and stuff like that. And then marketing and advertising, theater rentals, etc. So, all of that stuff, all that back end, I'm trying to raise the funds to go ahead and finish us off and set this thing out into the world, and stuff like that. So I'm not worried about it. The Lord's brought me this far and we've gotten so much done with this, big stuff that I can not at all take credit for, because there's no way that I've done all this without, his grace and glory. But yeah, so follow us on Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm rambling here.
No, man. It's cool.
Follow us on Facebook, Sword of the Spirit, the movie. And we'll be going live here, launching the crowdfunding campaign that hopefully you guys can, click on the link, see the pitch video that I have put together that John has seen. It's got clips from the movie, some behind the scenes stuff. It gives me, me explaining, the message and the intent and the story behind Sword of the Spirit, and loosely based on my life and stuff like that. And what our intentions are with Hollywood films and everything else. Yeah. And then if you want to contribute, there's going to be, a tier level of reward system that we got based on the level of contribution, all the way from $25 all the way up to, $5,000. I mean, t-shirt, DVDs, posters, signed scripts, being named executive producer of the film, being right there with me at the red carpet premiere, with photo. I mean, just, we got all kinds of reward systems going on that are really fun and exciting, so definitely follow us on Facebook. You'll know when that goes live. Hopefully you can click on and, maybe want to be a part of the film. So.
Okay. And guys, you guys can go on ahead and tune in for next week. We're going to be doing a RoboCop review on the 17th, and I'm going to have AC Universe with me, ACS Universe, and Motor City Nerds, and we're going to be doing a review of RoboCop. This is going to be the 1980s version, not the remake, because that one was not a great film. But
it wasn't good.
No, it was bad.
Well, how are you going to remake a classic like that? I mean, these people are trying to remake all these classics, and it's like,
right? Pretty soon they're going to make the remake of a remake. But yeah, that's going to be, of course, at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Then Rossie and I will be back again. We're going to be reviewing a indie film, and we'll get in some details for that. But that movie review is going to happen on the 15th of this month as well. And then at the end of the month, on the 29th, we're going to try and do the Goonies review. And that's going to be at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And then I got the Wizard review lined up as well, with the Fred Savage classic movie as well. So I'm trying to bring back some nostalgia to the channel. Also, too, guys, I have merch. I do have a place that you can actually buy some Movie Lovers Unite merchandise. You guys can get that in the links below. Of course, you can also support Jay, and I'll have those things in the description soon as well, so that way you can actually help him out with his production and things like that to help him grow. But yeah, that's going to be it as far as this interview goes. I do appreciate you, Jay. Thank you for everyone that tuned into this. Not a problem, man. It was an honor and a privilege to have you on the show.
And thank all of y'all for watching. If whenever you do chime in, love you guys, and can't wait to bring you some really good stuff, man. So stand by.
All right, and always until next time, guys. Bye-bye.